Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Coffee Christ in Real Life podcast. We have Jenni Reyes with us today, and we are very excited to have her on this podcast talking about kind of a new series. We're getting into a relationship series, and Bailey will kind of go over a little bit more about that here, but we just want to introduce Jenni to you guys and get to know her a little bit. Jenni is just an amazing Christian. She's an amazing woman to look up to. Her faith is very bold, and it is just fun to hear her spread the love of Jesus, and you treat other people like Jesus, and it's going to be awesome to hear from you today. So can you just tell us a little bit about you, Jenni, your family, where you grew up, where you work, just a couple things to get to know you a little bit?
Yeah. Thank you. That was very kind. So I was born in Marshall, actually, but I grew up in Florence. I'm the youngest from a family of 6. My dad is from Mexico, so I'm second generation American. And then I currently work in the laboratory at Avera, which is a hospital here in town.
Oh, we have to put upstairs right now, honey. Ida, you
can you tell us how old you are, too?
25.
25. Yeah, so Jenni is one of my dear friends, so it is so fun to have her on here today. Me and her share a lot of similarities in some of our testimonies, very different, but also, we've been there through some of the hardest parts of our walk with the Lord, so I'm really excited to get to chat with her today. We're going to, like Sarah said, we're going to talk about a topic that might be hard to talk about for some people, but also just share that it's not a bad thing. So the verse that I had to go with this is Ecclesiastes 3:1. And it says, "For everything there's a season, a time for every activity under heaven." So in this episode, we really want to talk about the season that we're both kind of in, singleness. And it can be very challenging in this waiting season. But first, I just want to talk about what has this season looked like for you? And what have you learned? Very broad question.
I feel like this season has honestly been a lot of realizing where I'm weak in my flesh, or realizing where I lack my trust in God. And it's great, and it's looked not so great. There's moments where I'm loving being single and then there's moments where I honestly talk to somebody that I shouldn't be talking to. So it's definitely not a clear cut season. It's a lot of ups and downs. But I think that's not just singleness, that's marriage, and that's a lot of different seasons. But it's the biggest thing that I have to do is honestly surrender, just because truthfully I thought I would be married by now. So just surrendering my plan for his will.
And can you talk about a little bit when me and you met, what kind of season of life we were in, and kind of some of the things that we went through in this season together?
Yeah, so when we met, we were both going through breakups, and they were really hard. And it was a little bit after COVID. So COVID already is isolating enough, and then you're going through a breakup during COVID. So that was just added an even harder aspect to it. And we didn't know the Lord fully. This was when Sandy would talk to us about Jesus, but we didn't have our own relationship with Jesus. So that added a whole other aspect to it. But we related a lot in just the feelings that we felt from our past relationships, or even the burdens that we had from our past relationships, or the things that we carried that we shouldn't have carried from our past.
Yeah, I think you learn too pretty quickly when you're going through a breakup how much you maybe relied on that person, or put your hope in that person, or just was this person is going to be my future, versus even considering they can be your future, but your main future is God, and your hope and your joy comes from Him. And then when you go through that season of breakup, you just learn to lean on Him a little bit more.
And Sarah, you're married, so can you talk a little bit about your single season, what that looked like for you before you met Ian?
Yeah. Kind of similar to you guys. I was probably about the same age when I went through a breakup too. I had dated a guy for about 4 years, and just really learned after that breakup that, like I was saying, I put a lot of my dependence on Him, and my happiness came from Him, and my joy came from Him, and everything came from Him versus Jesus, because I was in the same boat at that time, didn't really have a relationship with the Lord. But as soon as that breakup happened, and I was kind of well, where do I look now? Where do I have no idea where I'm going now. I had my whole future and whole plan figured out with, this guy, and then the breakup happens, and then I leaned really hard into Jesus at that time, and just started surrendering to Him too. And it was a hard season of grieving what I thought I would have, but such a beautiful season to grow in my faith, walking with the Lord. And then when I did meet Ian to know the difference between what it feels like to be with someone whose goals align with your goals of the future, and someone who treats you like Jesus would, and who looks at you like you're the only person in the world, or just puts you first. Like, I felt a very big difference when I met him, to be like, I felt safe and secure and seen, and that's how I feel when I'm walking with the Lord too. And that was how I kind of knew at that point too that like this was a better relationship.
That's okay.
Okay. So, Jenni, I feel like maybe this is kind of a worldly view too, but I do think that a lot of people think singleness is a bad thing. Like you were saying, you just get to this point in your life and you think you should be married. But just because you are single doesn't mean you're any less worthy, doesn't mean you're any less loved than someone who is married, or, vice versa. And in 1 Corinthians, it says, "And holy in body and spirit. But a married man has to think about her earthly responsibilities and how to please her husband." So marriage brings earthly responsibilities and more divided interests, and those who choose to remain single have more of an option maybe of devoting their lives to fully serving Christ versus, when you're married and you do have different responsibilities with pleasing your husband or taking care of your kids, that kind of thing. So what have you done in your season that you may not be able to do if you had a family? Or how has this season kind of been fruitful for you, being single?
There's a lot of benefits actually to being single when you like stop and think about it, where it's like I don't have anybody else that I have to like ask. Like when you have a husband, you do want to take his feelings and everything into consideration. But when I'm single, it's like if this situation comes up, I can just go. I don't have to have an obligation at my home. It's just me. So that's been big. And also just discovering my gifts, discovering what I like to do, where I feel like led to be, has been giving me like the ability and the flexibility to serve in youth group, serve on prayer team, and just devoting my life right now just serving and seeing what God has truly made me to do has been just a lot easier, because there is moments where I do have a lot of friends that are married or that do have children, and it's a whole different aspect that adds to it. Just my friend Erica and I, we were like, let's just drive to Nashville for the leadership games conference that we went to, and we're both single, so we both were like, all right, let's just do it. So there's a freedom in that too, of just obviously you're asking the Lord, but it's not like somebody that where on my head I'm there for the Lord. I'm not thinking I have to come back to my husband or my kids. I'm fully devoting my time to, Lord, what do you have for me here and now?
Yeah, I love that you're using this season of singleness to serve the Lord too. You're actively choosing what can I do to serve you, Lord? And that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's hard because, like, for me, it's not necessarily a man, but it's a kid that I have to take everything into consideration for. So, yeah, as much as, like, we long for the next season, like, there's so much good in the season that we're in right now. Like, even sometimes when it doesn't seem like it or we feel like it, like, God's doing something in it. And somebody told me, like, just keep dating Jesus. And it's like, it's so true. Like, we're never going to get this season back where it's just us with the Lord. Yeah. So I'm proud of you for taking advantage of it, and also like recognizing the fruit that he has produced in it, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like anything is happening. Like, he's always working. So it's been fun to like walk with you through that. So kind of back to what we talked about a little bit at the beginning, you and I both have experienced some worldly and broken relationships. We haven't picked the right people, or even just asked the Lord if that's who he wants for us. So after going through those breakups or relationships, what has God showed you about what you now want in a godly relationship or a man?
I feel like if I look at my relationships, a lot of the issues or a lot of the things were honestly things that I didn't heal within myself. A lot of my insecurities played out into both of them. So it was like two completely different relationships, but a lot of the same situations were coming up. So it allowed, like, when I did finally let that go, it allowed like me to be like, wait a minute, God, am I the problem? Is it me? Is there things that I'm holding on, ways that the world's taught me that I'm still doing that's affecting my relationship? So not even like in an aspect of like them being super worldly either, but in just an aspect of I have not like matured enough in the Lord to even have a healthy relationship. So taking the time of doing that is what I feel is crucial, and where that's going to be like the flip for me for whatever relationship that I have next is going to be like when Pastor Doug says, like, are you somebody that's worth loving? And if I'm being truthful, in those two relationships, I wasn't.
It's very humbling for you to say that, because like I said, we're not dogging on the the people that we've been with. Like, I'm sure I've heard people that I've been with, vice versa. It goes both ways. But I think it's very mature of you to recognize, like, no, like, God obviously needed to work on some things in my heart and from my past so that he can prepare me for what he has for me. That's growth. So that's awesome that you can recognize that right now, because I feel like that's like the season that I'm going through right now too, is just he's picking at my heart, like, okay, well, now we're gonna, like, physical sin, it's a little bit easier, at least for me, it was a little bit easier to deal with, like, when it comes to, like, sexual sin and that sort of thing, like, I could cut that out. But then when it comes to the things in my heart that I need to work on, or things that have been, like, rooted in my heart, like bitterness and rejection, that's a little bit harder for me to work on. So yeah, to kind of go off of that, have you ever idolized being married or having a family?
For sure.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, honestly. I feel like because I idolized that, it was a moment when I was on my on fire season with Jesus, and I got into a relationship like almost right away. And I knew that that person wasn't for me, but I think I idolized it so much that I know I idolized it so much that I stayed longer than I should have. And I know that that's something that I always try to like put down, but truthfully I do pick it up a lot as well. And I think it's something that's, for me, it's harder to not idolize, like I can not idolize my job, but then like I've always wanted to be a mom, since I was little. So and I think there's obviously a desire there, and there's something like the Lord put that in me, that desire, for a reason. But I think also just the perspective of like, it's only seen as an idolization because of the season that I'm in right now. But when I get to my marriage, or when I get to my children, it's going to be seen as not that. I don't know how to like fully explain it, but I will say honestly, for like a lot of the single women, like, we do not want to have idolization in our heart, but I will tell you, you are totally normal to have that. Yeah. Because we hear a lot of time, like, okay, when you stop idolizing that, then the Lord's going to give it to you. But that's not how God works. Right. He knows the day that's going to happen. And we're still working. I think I probably will have my husband and probably will idolize him in moments when I have him, It
almost doesn't matter what season you're in, you're going to idolize. There's a balance, You don't want to idolize your husband, you don't want to idolize your kids either.
That's the hardest part, is finding the balance of like, okay, Lord, obviously you put that desire there for me to have. Yeah. But how do I like still express that, but also not fully let that, take capacity of all of my thoughts, and like that's what I'm so fixated on.
Yeah, I think it's okay to like express that to Jesus. Yeah. You can almost just like beg and cry, shout out like, this is what I want, Lord. Why is this not happening? And just that is a way of kind of almost releasing that idol. Like, okay, I'm just going to give it to you. And like you said, you probably will have to do it multiple times. Because the idol just sneaks back in every now and then. You can realize it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's something that I felt like when we were coming back from our trip, we went to Nashville for like 2 weeks. And I was like telling God, I'm so tired of coming back to nobody. When I get home, there's nobody there. Nobody's going to ask how my trip is or how my day is or whatnot. And my friend Erica was just like, she's like, but I just feel so much guilt, because why do I feel that? But I love God, and she really wrestles with that. And I just felt like the Lord kind of just say like, just a little, like, you can miss people that you haven't met, and that's okay. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, that's actually very reassuring. Thank you.
I highlighted these 2 Bible verses today, which is very encouraging for the waiting season. This one was from Psalm 27. Wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. So it says the psalmist expresses confidence and hope in the Lord's presence. To live in faith means to wait patiently in recognition of the Lord's goodness. Such a life is not always pleasant for the godly, but their future is secure. And I feel like you both do that, though. You are waiting patiently, bravely and courageous at the same time, even when it's hard. And then the other one I had was Psalm 33, verse 20. We put our hope in the Lord. He is our help and our shield. And the godly respond to this magnificent vision of God's power in creation and in the affairs of the world with an affirmation of trust, commitment, joy, and hope as they pray and wait for God's rescue. Another way that you guys are both just like leaning on God through all of this, even when it's hard. It's awesome to see both of you do that and pursue God. Even when you're not getting what you want, you're still loving him and you're still serving him.
Thanks. Another verse that came to my mind while we were talking about the desires was, I think it's Psalm 27, but it's like, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you your heart's desires. And so that just reminds me of like the season that we're in, like just keeping your eyes focused on God, delighting in him and like what he's doing in our lives right now. And like in his timing, he'll make all of that come to fruition. So,
okay. So I want to talk about a little bit about a lie that the enemy kind of makes us believe, which is what we were kind of saying. And maybe you believe this and maybe not, but I almost feel like it's a worldly view that like we have a certain schedule to follow, that like we have to we're single and then you're married, you own a house, you have kids, and like you have to hit these certain milestones at a certain point in your life. So basically when other women your age are hitting these milestones, you feel like I should be hitting these milestones. And I feel like as soon as you don't hit the same milestone as your friends, the enemy is much more easily able to convince you that that must mean you're not loved, or that must mean you're not worthy, or you're not doing something right. And so I just think, there's that level of like comparison that we all do through social media nowadays and everything too. But when you look back and think about where you thought you would be at this stage of life, are you where you thought you would be or where you want to be? And what have you kind of learned in this season of not maybe being where you want to be?
Yeah, I think I remember, in high school when it's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Yeah, not even close. So I did think that I would probably like be married or have a child by now. And a lot of my friends from high school do have that and they are married. But I do think, like what I was saying earlier, I do want more of my personal relationship with the Lord. Do I really desire marriage? Yes, I do. But I actually desire to be healed even more. And I need that even more. I don't want to go into a marriage still bleeding, still hurt, still broken. And not saying that once you're married, that means you're 100% free. Obviously, that's not the case. But there is things that the Lord wants to work out of my heart before he gives me to his son. You know, like the Lord loves all his children. Whoever my husband is, he loves just as much as he loves as me. So he wouldn't want to give me somebody that I'm going to hurt. You know, and vice versa, same thing. So just really working on my heart and really working on the honesty of where I am. And if the Lord were to give me marriage and a child, am I going to steward it well? Am I going to steward it and love it like the church, like he calls me to? Truthfully, I'm still selfish. There is moments where I still will choose myself. So there is moments where I can actually say like, okay, God, I see why you didn't do that. Or, you know, like where I'm like, if I had a husband, I would selfishly not want to spend time. I'm very introverted. I would like moments where I'm like, I just need to be by myself. So truthfully, as much as I say I desire it and really want it, there's a part of me that is nervous to give up singleness as well.
Yeah, that's true. Like it sounds good sometimes, and I'm like, dang, actually, I kind of like doing what I want to do, you know? Oh, I don't know if I am. Okay, so here's something that I feel like me and you have heard before. Have you like ever heard somebody say like, "Oh, your turn's coming," like just wait. Oh, or like maybe you're at a baby shower or you're at a bridal shower. So like, what do you feel when you hear that statement? Life isn't really about being fair. We don't have to advance at a certain rate depending on our age or other women. God has us like right where he wants us right now. So how do you feel when people say that?
Truthfully, I will say usually when I'm at a baby shower or a wedding, sometimes I can feel a little bitterness and envy creep up in full honesty. So there is always those moments where I have to just talk to the Lord in my head because I love the person that's getting married. I love the person that's having a baby. I don't want like to take away what they're feeling in their season, but I have to be real and honest with God for my heart to also be healed. So that's something that I honestly have to do at a lot of baby showers and a lot of weddings is like, Lord, I'm feeling comparison right now. please help my heart. Like, give me something. I need something. What was the rest of your questions?
Oh, no, that was pretty much it. But like how you say that, because just in case like anybody listening that feels those same things kind of come up, you know, because that's normal.
I love that you said bitterness and envy. We all do that with comparison.
And especially I feel like at our age, it's like
the pressure.
And like I feel like this whole summer, it's like I'm getting invited to these weddings and baby showers, which is great. Like like you said, I am so happy for like the people that this is happening to. But when you're there and in that moment, it's like, dang, like I can't wait to do this. Yeah. You get all these ideas in your head, like, well, when I get married, I'm gonna do this. And it's exciting to like think about, and I do believe in my heart, like one day that will happen for us. Like I know that for a matter of fact. But it's good for you to recognize that and just be like, okay, I'm not going to deny that I'm thinking this way, but I'm going to just give it to the Lord and let him take care of that. So I think that's great for anybody listening to that, because I know that that's a normal feeling that comes up when it comes to those kind of events and stuff.
Are you able to get rid of the feeling pretty quickly, or does it hang on sometimes?
Sometimes it does hang on. Yeah. So sometimes I do have to, after the event, you know, sometimes I will shed some tears. And sometimes I really, like, I think one of the, like, important steps of trusting God is honestly telling him you don't trust him, you know, and allowing him to, like, heal you or help you through that process of, like, that's okay, daughter. You know, he's never going to, like, you need to trust me, or, you know, so, like, oh, hey, God, that baby shower actually really hurt, and I actually really want children, and I'm actually really feeling this. And that's the biggest way for me, is like to soften my heart to him. And that's when he can really, really help me. But yeah, depends on sometimes the person, honestly, you know, like just how long we've been walking together or how close I am with them. You know, if it's a best friend, it's going to be really hard because I'm going to be feeling like super happy and super jealous. Because I'm like, you're taking my best friend, you know? So yeah, it really just depends on the person and the situation.
Yeah.
That's a real,
that real feeling. Once that feeling creeps in, sometimes it's just, it's hard to get rid of it. So I love that you said that.
Well, and the enemy, like, he knows exactly what we want to, you know, and so it's like, any type of way that he can creep in, like, I know this will, like, upset her, you know, like, he's going to use that and try to take away from, you know, the person that this is actually supposed to be focused on, and then we start to internalize it and make it about us, and it's like like, you know, so it's good that you can recognize those thoughts, and like you said, God knows your heart. He knows when you're not really fully trusting him, so it's just, he loves when we're just honest and open with him. So that was good.
I don't know if you have anything else to add to this one, but I'll ask and see if you do. But do you believe that women who have moved up the ladder, you know, meaning being married or having kids or buying a house, means God loves you more or less? Has the enemy ever convinced you to feel inadequate, that you may not be in the same stage of life as other women your age?
That's good. I don't think that I've ever believed it, but I definitely have heard the enemy tell me it. There is moments where I will let the lie seep a little bit more than I should, but because of how much I know the Lord, I know that's not the case. There's definitely moments where it feels like I just am kind of feeding into the lie, or just, why do they have that and I don't? Is it because they're spending more time in prayer with you? Is it because they're reading their Bible more with you? Like, why do you love them more, God? You know, it's like almost a relationship of like a parent and a child. If a parent were to give a sibling something and the other sibling doesn't get it, you know, those feelings that sibling has, that I can feel that sometimes. But it doesn't take away from that parent loving both children, you know? So like I said, just having to really be honest with him and tell him like the same thing of, I don't know. And honestly, maybe I did believe it, but just like telling him and being honest with it. And that's definitely been something that I have had to mature in, because a lot of the time I would let the feeling just sit in my heart and kind of harden it and kind of take root. And now I'm like, bitterness is turning into something bigger, and now I can't be happy for even my closest friends or family. So it's definitely just the freedom of just being honest and just really opening and telling him, this is what I'm feeling. I need you to give me some reassurance.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. I mean, like both of you, like looking back at like where you were when you like just had the breakups versus like looking now, like at where you're at now.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that such a big,
huge
I thank God for those. Like, nothing against those people, but like obviously I wasn't mature enough. They weren't mature enough to like, we weren't supposed to be together. But I think I just think about too, like all the other people that we see, you know, like we're like, oh, they're getting married, but like we don't even know, like maybe they don't even have a foundation their marriage is set on. Like if Christ isn't at the center, I don't want that.
Yeah.
You know, and do you know how many marriages there are that don't have Christ in their marriage?
Yeah.
Or it might look really good on the Instagram, but their marriage is failing at home. You know, I'm much more grateful for, you know, I would rather have what God wants for me than what my flesh wants, and just to rush the process.
Yeah. I think something that's been a really good fruit from it is that a lot of times, like, women that come to either Bailey or I, it's like they're going through a breakup. So it's like, okay, I know those feelings that you are feeling. I know how heavy it feels, and I know how much it hurts. So that's been just a great fruit to be able to just walk them through that, and then also showing them, because when you are in that breakup, you see the end, you know? You like don't think that God can do anything, or that you're gonna even like see next week, or you know, like it's just dark. Breakups are hard. So to be able to see us and be like, God, with God, you can do it, you know? And that was something that, like, a profound moment in one of my breakups where I'm like, God, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. And I'm just crying and crying. And, like, I open up my Bible, and I think it's in 2 Kings, but it's like, I have heard your prayers. I've seen your tears. I will heal you. And that's what I clung to. Like, in those moments where I'm like, okay, like, even if I don't feel like you're healing me, even if I don't, like, even if I'm not praying actively, but you're seeing my tears falling, I know you're working.
I just like can't imagine going through it without him when you're in those.
Oh yeah, that was.
I mean, I know we all said like right after the breakup we weren't that close to the Lord.
Yeah.
Obviously the Lord used it to bring us closer to him. But yeah, to like think back to getting through that time without the Lord.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you would cling to.
Yeah.
For me, like
unhealthy coping.
Yeah. And we can kind of speak to that a little bit because, and maybe somebody listening to this has dealt with it the same way, but when I wasn't walking with the Lord, like really walking with him, like I knew Christ, but I was not walking with him. I was choosing the world and my desires over his. And what I would turn to is other men or drinking and going out with my friends. Like that was my outlet to escape the hurt. And like looking back on it, I'm like, why would I ever do that? You know, when you're in the moment, like that's
you're just trying
you're just trying to find something to fix your eyes off of all the hurt and all the pain. Yeah, we were kind of in that same boat together. We were both going through a breakup. We weren't walking with Christ, so we did worldly things together. But I think it is so cool to like see where we are now because now we pray together. Now, you know, like we're not perfect by any means, but like the way that our friendship has even transformed is like so cool. And it's like God knew that we needed each other to like kind of walk through some of those seasons together. So can you just talk a little bit about community and what God has done in a community aspect through this season for you?
Yeah. So honestly, actually, like, my family went through just a really tragic event, and we had a house fire. And I've always known the importance of community since coming to Grace Life or knowing Jesus. And he has definitely shown me a lot of people where he's strategically put into my life to help speak into me. But I think with our house fire and everything, we got a lot of help, honestly, a lot of donations, a lot of people offering their services to us. So that has been huge for my family to see like Jesus through that community. And what's even cooler for me is that like my parents know God, but they don't have a relationship with God. So to see God love his children all the same, it's not just because I have a strong relationship with him. It's because he loves my mom and dad and my family, you know? So that was just an awesome way for him to show how important community is and for them to recognize that too. They came to church, you know, and it's like giving them hope in a hopeless situation through community is what the Lord used in that aspect. And just the community that I have with people in Grace Life is just huge. You know, the story with the paralyzed man and the friends that bring him in through the rooftop. I firmly know that the Lord really values community. And he's given me Bailey. And like Bailey said, we were in like seasons of tears together, seasons of joy together, like ups and downs. And when she can't pray for herself, I'm there. When I can't pray for myself, she's there. And it's been just a huge aspect. Like if I can't form the words and Bailey's there to pray with me, there's like a flip, there's a switch. To have that with, the KOs as well. They've discipled and mentored me for like 5 years now. And that was the key way that Jesus showed me his love. Like, I've never had somebody love me the way that they loved me in times when I was hard to love too.
Yeah, right. That he loved you before you were even loving him, or before you were perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think you're up.
Okay. I'm gonna skip that question, I think, because I feel like we kind of touched on it.
Yeah.
Do you want to go with yours?
So, do you ever feel pressured to get married? And why should we not marry a man just to stay on like the correct timeline as everyone else?
Yeah, I definitely feel pressured to get married. And my last relationship was with somebody within the church. Okay. So it looked good. And that was something that the Lord really spoke to me of, like, that marriage or that relationship is good, but do you trust me for better? So that's where, like, there's just, when the Lord speaks, there's just a part that you just can't forget it. As much as you want to, because I was in that relationship for 3 years. As much as I wanted to hold on to that person, as much as I tried to make it work, it was always in the back of my head, this isn't my person, this isn't the one. So thankfully, I feel like because of God and because of his just little nudges where I couldn't settle. Even if I so badly wanted to, which there was moments that I did. It was just in the back of my head that this isn't the one.
And you could hear that nudge too, and that you obeyed it.
Yeah, and that he never stopped loving me when I was in that relationship. He still spoke to me. He still, like, I love speaking, or that's when I started working with youth group kids and really kind of seeing my gifts. He still was showing me all of that when I was in that relationship. It's not like he was like turned his back on me completely, even though I halfway did, but he still was loving me and speaking to me and just talking to me in ways that where I did realize, like, okay, I have to leave this.
Okay, this, I don't know how much we'll have to say about this.
Okay.
But we can talk about some aspects of it. So I kind of just wanted to talk about dating. What do you feel like, I mean, maybe what does that look like for you, or what does it look like from like a Christian standpoint? Because like the world will tell us like, oh, like find a man and like, just kind of like bounce around, and not really having that intention to like marry. Like people just date just to date. So yeah, what's your take on dating as like a Christian, or what do you think about it?
Yeah. I will say I do not have a lot of experience. I'm like, I don't remember the last time I went on a date. But I do think that it's obviously not talked about a lot. It's kind of like the topic of sex. It's just not like you just kind of brush through it and you move on. So there's not a whole lot of like things that I truly would know on dating, but something that I don't think just because you are a Christian woman that you are not called to date at all. I don't think that, but I do know, like, okay, you can go on a date, or you, like, if you see potential or something, sure, go on a date. But obviously you need to have a relationship with the Lord first and foremost. But when God tells you no, that's when you need to let go. Like you can't not keep going on dates with this person when you know that the Lord has told you no. So that would be my number one thing on dating. It's not as strict as what people make it to be as a Christian woman, honestly. But when the Lord tells you no, then no. Even if he tells you no before you go on that date, then no. It's a no.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good, because I don't have a ton of experience either. Like, to be honest, Marshall just doesn't have a ton of people.
Yeah.
But I've been on a few dates, and like, it's so different dating from like how I used to date versus now. Like, I'm kind of pretty like straight to the point. Like, do you have a relationship, guys? Or, like I'm just pretty open about that, because that is like my biggest thing. Like I'm not like, I don't know.
Except maybe God's using you to lead them.
Yeah, and I've thought about that, but I've also tried that with so many other relationships where it's like, okay, maybe like I'm not, I really don't know. Like, and I've seen relationships work too, where the other one person was saved and one wasn't. Like, God can do anything. But like
you'll hear the Lord.
Yeah.
And so I remember going on a date with a guy, and like, I thought it was cute, and I was kind of like basing it off of like fleshly desires. And then after dinner and stuff, like we had went on a couple dates after that, and I don't know, I knew like deep in my heart like that wasn't the person for me, but I still continued to go on a date. And finally I was just like, okay, no, like, and I felt really at peace with that. But I think like as a Christian woman, like your values change when you're really pursuing the Lord. Like you know what you want. And for so much of my life, I had such low standards that now that I have high standards, people are like, well, you can't be so picky. And it's like, no, I can. Like, and I know like what I want, and I know what the Lord wants for me. And I'm not saying that I'm not looking for a perfect like fairy tale at all, but I think it's important to like have those values for yourself, like in finding somebody that's equally yoked as you. Yeah. Because you don't want to be pulling all the weight either.
I think something that I really look at too is like, I don't want to see your Instagram profile. I don't want to see your platform. I want to see your fruit. I want to see how you treat your mom. I want to see how you show up at church. Not appearance wise, but heart wise. What's your heart posture? What does your worship look like? What does your day-to-day life look like? Do you have time for God in there? You know, because if you don't have time for God, you're not having time for me, and I don't want time for me, you know, like, and just just really emphasizing their walk, and not on Instagram, not on pretty pictures, and all of that is great and good, but I need to see the fruit of your work too.
What about like purity within dating? What's your take on that? This can be like opinion or like what you know, like obviously we don't have a ton of like experience with dating, but like I don't know.
I think now, like you said, as just a woman of God, your values are a lot different from what the world's are. So it's not like there's just automatic no's. And honestly, for everybody, you need to know your limits. Some people you may be able to kiss. Some people you may not be able to kiss. You know, like that might be getting you too close to that line. So you need to know your boundary. You need to know what you can and what you can't do. And I think anything more than kissing, I don't want. I wouldn't say that would be okay. But yeah, you just knowing yourself and knowing like what temptation is going to come with it or what it's going to look like, you know. So because I have honestly not been pure my whole life, I know that would play into effect into my future relationship. So there's going to be a boundary that I will have to set. There's like very clear things because I have crossed that line in the past.
Yeah. And I think that's why it makes breakups so much harder too. If you're not pure, you're giving yourself fully to someone that you shouldn't be yet. And they're making, you know, when you give yourself to someone like that, you're trusting in them. You're trusting that they'll keep you safe and secure, and then you get rejected and let down. And that's what the enemy wants. But yeah, in comparison, if you wait, and same with like putting our hope in Jesus, like he will never let us down. And he is always our safe spot, our secure spot that we can go to. And that's part of the reason he wants us to wait, just to lean on him and be with him until he's ready to give us to somebody else.
And then it comes into like this could be a whole other episode, but like soul ties and like all of those things. There's so much more that living so worldly, you don't even know that stuff's like attaching to you or is what you're opening yourself up to. So, but like what you were just kind of saying about purity and stuff, like I was thinking, I'm like, you know how you would know if you're with a man of God is if like you verbalize those boundaries and he's like, okay, you know, like I respect that, because so many, and this isn't even just men, this is men and women nowadays, like there are no boundaries, and if you don't want to have sex on the first date, like you're like, you know, you're I don't even know what I'm trying to say, you're a prude or whatever, you know, like, but like that's actually like something to honor with if somebody's like wanting to wait till marriage, even if you've already, you know, lost your virginity. Like for me, I've obviously done that, and like I'm starting over. And so like I told the Lord, like I'm waiting and I'm gonna honor my husband, like, you know, and I think he honors that too. So whoever you're with will honor that and respect that. So I think it's just a topic that's not talked about a lot. And so I know like Marshall in specific has so many single women our age that I think it's just helpful to talk about these kinds of things and know that we're not alone and we all have temptations and struggles when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, and just being real, like you know, just with my walk too, you know, like I stated, like I slip, and there's moments that I have slipped, and that's not like the condemnation that can come with it is very real and very hard, and it's very like, God, you don't love me anymore, I really messed up, you know, but also just on the flip side of like, he's giving you some conviction because he loves you. You don't see the physical effects right away of what you do, But honest, for me personally, I can tell, and like there's moments where I'm in isolation. Now my thoughts are everywhere and I just feel confused. God, is that you? Is that not you? It's talked about in the Bible that sexual immorality is just a tough, hard, like a bigger, not bigger, what word am I trying to say? It's a sin that you're doing on your own body. And it's different, and you can feel the difference, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But just recognizing some of these girls that probably have fallen or will fall. And I just really want to emphasize and clarify that God does not base his love on when you fall, and he will love you when you're down and when you're up. But your love for God needs to be stronger than anything else in this world, and that's what's going to hold you up. He doesn't want you to be strong, but you should be strong in your faith. You should be strong in your walk with him. When we're weak, he's strong, but he builds up such a strength of faith in you that, like Bailey was saying, where you're like, I'm saving this for my husband now. You're strong in that because he built that.
Sorry, I have one more question on this.
No, it's okay.
Okay, so when it comes to temptation, how do you deal with that? Like you can go as far as you want with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I have to put worship music on. I have to get my mind, because if I have to really clear my mind or really get my mind with God, because there's certain temptations or certain things or certain people that will, like, it'll go fast if I don't like run to God, so, and just moments where I have to really pray. And there's times I have to reach out to somebody. Living alone, it can be hard. You need to have a lot of self-discipline when you're living alone. So reaching out to a friend and being completely honest, I'm having lustful thoughts, I'm having whatever it is. Can we go for a walk? Or I will go for a run. I'll put headphones on. I need to leave my house and just really, like, literally flee, like it says in the Bible. Like I need to flee because I'm gonna fall.
Yeah, it's hard when going back to like the world and things, like how we used to live. Like we used to be able to watch all of these shows or all of these things, and it was just normal. And then now it's like, oh, I can't watch those things, because even some of the things you watch or listen to can really trigger some of the things you think, or so I think it's like cool how some of that, like, our discernment has changed when it comes to those things.
Well, as we close then, Jenni, do you have any words of advice or encouragement for other people who are in the season of singleness?
Yeah. I would say, honestly, that being single does not mean that you are any less than anyone. It does not mean that God loves you less than anyone. And it doesn't mean that you are limited to certain things either. I do believe that a season of singleness is your selfish season with God. So really take advantage of that, really hone into that, and really find other women that are single. Find other people that are in that similar season in that community with you, and to recognize that you aren't alone, and to also recognize what is God working with them in that season, because it could be something that he needs to work with you in that season, or just really connecting in ways of how God is using your singleness. And then also saying that it's okay that you do not always feel content being single, because we are not going to always feel content being single. But I also just want you to be real with God, and real and honest. And if your friend gets married and you want that, tell him, speak to him on it. Don't hold it in. Don't do the Christian thing and I'm content because I have the Lord. That's not helping you, and that's not helping your walk either.
So yeah, thank you for coming on here today. Thank you for being vulnerable and real. I feel like this is going to touch a lot of people who are maybe going through a similar walk, and to just know, like, yeah, you're not alone, and some of those thoughts and feelings that you have are completely normal. And it's best to just expose that. So that's what you did. And so thank you for sharing. And I love just having conversations with you. And Sarah, thank you for just you. And I love watching how you, like, are in your marriage and your family. It's good for us to have people like you guys in our life to, like, look up to, because you're a great mom and you're a great wife. So you're welcome. So I'll close us in prayer. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for gathering us here today, Lord. We thank you for this conversation that we just had, and just pray that anybody listening to this, Lord, who has some of these feelings or thoughts, Lord, would just feel seen and heard, and like, okay, I'm not alone. I can do this because I have Christ on my side, and I have community that's walking with me through it, Lord. And I just thank you for Jenni and just her vulnerability, Lord, and that you would bless her for sharing some of her story and just being a good role model to some of these other ladies out here that are going through similar things. And I thank you for our friendship, Lord, and just who she is. She has a great heart, Lord, and I pray that she would see that in herself. And I just pray that you would continue to bless this podcast and all of our listeners that are listening. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.